iniziare allora.
I'd like to get started. The title is Infrastructures in Great Eurasia. And here we have a presentation video. Thank you for this video clip, an introductory one. The topic of this session, as you see, has got to do with infrastructures. Infrastructures that are today considered to be the source of all investments, the starting point of all investments, and especially in the face of uncertainties, the many uncertainties characterizing the world of private investments. And obviously, this doesn't mean that infrastructures cannot represent private investments, but in the face of investments that have to be carried out by businesses in the financial industrial world, we tend to ask for and hope for massive infrastructure investments. And obviously, the implicit thing is that they would have to be implemented and funded, financed by public operators. Now, infrastructures are not only simply used and useful in order to support the economy of each individual country, where they obviously are located, but they have another purpose. They serve the purpose of allowing for new relations at worldwide level, new connections, new links, innovative things. And this is the way to allow for further innovations. Now, the interventions of the current session try and give us a good horizon of the many aspects of the investments. And in their international vision, this is something which stands as extremely complex. There is a financial aspect, a legal aspect, a technological aspect, a political aspect. And obviously, the themes that are dealt with are very common to other countries as well. We try and look at a number of any such aspects And by doing so, I'll pass the floor to Chen Ping, Mr. Chen Ping, Executive Director of a public entity, a Chinese public entity, and he is the keynote speaker of this session. Now, Chen Ning takes the floor.
Good morning, colleagues. It's my great honor to be here attending this Verona forum. It's my first time to be here. And thanks for the organizer of this forum and Antonio to inviting me to talk something about China, specifically about innovation and cooperation of new startup companies. And I think it couldn't be a better one for me to talk about this in this forum, because I have been expecting some international venues to share my ideas about ITEN's idea on how to improve the cooperation between China and international colleagues. This is a picture taken from last night's dinner. I think it's very innovative and creative, so I put it here in my slides as a representation of, we are talking about China. And talking about the presentation, I didn't prepare a keyboard-typed PPT as common. Instead, I wrote a presentation, with only one slide. I hope with this kind of mode, you can grasp the whole picture that I want to share with you in my mind. And I'm sorry for my handwriting, but I hope it is okay for you. Today, I'd like to talk about the three aspects together with you. First, I'd like to share with you some a status quo about China. Maybe many of you have been to China many times, even in 1 year. So I guess most of you are very familiar with China and know China well. But China has been developing so fast, so maybe I can share with you some status quo of China now. First, I want to talk a little bit about the economy in China. You may know that after 30 years, extremely and amazingly fast development in China, the economic growth rate has been slowed down since 2010 to 6.9% last year and 6.7% the first half of this year. And the new data shows that the third quarter of China's GDP growth maintained 6.7%. So in China, a new term, the new normal, has been used to describe the regular shift from the government stimulus and the exporting goods to a consumer demand-driven and service-oriented economy. And since 2015, more stringent measures have been introduced to cope with overcapacity, specifically in some sectors such as steel, iron, aluminum, and the cement and the plate, glass, etc. So the Chinese local governments and central departments are prohibited to approve more new capacity expanding projects in these sectors. And maybe you don't know that only 3 or 4 weeks ago, Chinese many primary cities and municipal government at the same time issued some very stringent policies to control the crazy surging of the real estate industry that is happening now in China. Also in 2015, the State Council unveiled the plan of Made in China 2015. It's a national strategy in China to comprehensively upgrade the Chinese industry structure away from low-end volume and labor-intensive structure towards the manufacturing driven by innovation, quality, and added value. The plan promotes high-end machine tools and robotics, energy-efficient and environment-friendly technologies, and including the biopharma and medical devices, etc. And also, it is also linked with the Germany Industry 4.0 strategy. This is about the economy status quo in China. And then I'd like to talk about the innovation and entrepreneurship in China now. Since early last year, China's State Council has issued a policy to encourage the general public to do more entrepreneurship and innovation, which is called the popular entrepreneurship and mass innovation in China. By lowering the barriers and strengthening the service and encouraging the college students and teachers, scientists, and engineers to start up business, new startups, China's environment for entrepreneurship and innovation has changed a lot. There are some important figures I'd like to share with you. For the time being, China has more than 100 university scientific parks and around 100 technology business incubators, which are incubating more than 100,000 enterprises and hiring around 2 million employees, among which many are funded by the more than 1,000 investment agencies with a total capital sum of $60 billion. And another data shows that during the first half of this year, 2.6 million new startup companies were established in China. It's up around 30% year on year. And the patent application in China during the same period is about 1.5 million in the same period, the rise of around 40%. And the other thing I want to mention is, although you know China very well, but if you go to China today, it will be easy for you to see a phenomenon seen that there are a lot of innovation and entrepreneurship competitions everywhere in almost every province and municipality, the big cities. It is organized by the government. And so it is easy to make the judgment that China is now in the era, golden era of innovation and entrepreneurship. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the One Belt and One Road. I noticed that some of my Chinese colleagues have made the presentation about the Belt and Road yesterday, so maybe you know something about it. But what I want to say is that the purpose of the establishment of the Belt and the Road Initiative is the same with the establishment of Vienna Forum. It's just to aim at improving mutual learning and understanding, to facilitating the interconnectivity and achieving win-win situation. It will advance both economic cooperation and people-to-people exchanges and expand practical cooperation in culture, education, arts, and business, tourism, and of course, science and technology and innovation. So under this big framework, China Ministry of Science and Technology, also known as MOST in China, just released a plan recently on improving the cooperation on science and technology alongside the Belt and Road region countries, in which several goals and tasks was established, including to setting up the joint laboratory and technology transfer centers and technology demonstration and spreading centers. Also, we want to establish some online platform to improve the cooperation among the Belt and Road countries on innovation. And also we want to improve the scientific parks cooperation. And talking about the areas, agriculture, energy, environment, biomedicine, medical devices, and transportation, ICT are the priorities in this plan. Second, I'd like to talk a little about ITEN. First, who we are. ITEN represents International Technology Transfer Network. As an organization located primarily in Beijing, we have a lot of branches in China, different provinces and in other countries. We position ourselves as a linker or connector between China and other countries with regard to the innovation cooperation. And we focus on the exchange of innovative ideas and technologies and IPs. we provide both a public and large-scale service, and also we provide individual and customized service for the international cooperation on innovation. And what we have, internationally, ITIN has been playing a very important role in many multilateral and bilateral mechanisms with regard to science and technology cooperation between China and other countries. So ITIN has good and strong connections with many departments and ministries of different countries, including US, Canada, UK, Germany, and of course Italy. Also, we have a good connection with Korea and Israel, some Asian countries. Simultaneously, ITIN has set up regular cooperation with some major international technology transfer organizations, including Autumn from America, and ASTP from Europe, KCA from Australia, ACCT from Canada. ITIN has also around more than 400 university technology transfer offices and technology transfer companies all around the world from 40 countries as our international counterparts and partner. We have also around 100 international committee members to help us expand the cooperation opportunity. And domestically, ITIN in China has a regular connection and support the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Foreign Experts, and the Ministry of Health, something like that. We have also good connection with the local government, Chinese local government and companies, scientific parks, and universities to help them expand the possibility to cooperate with the international community. And how we do? ITIN, with several models, have promoted the cooperation between China and the rest of the world. We regularly organize more than 100 events every year, including conferences, competitions, forums, and seminars, something like the Verona Forum, both in China and other countries. The closest event we are now organizing is in several days, actually, starting from 24th this month. We will, together with our Italian counterparts, partners, host the 7th China-Italy Innovation Week, which is very important for China-Italy innovation cooperation. Simultaneously, we will organize the first China-Italy Innovation and Entrepreneurship competition, in which around more than 100 competitors and judges from China and Italy will show and review the competition ideas about innovation and enterprise. And at the same time, we take this as a good opportunity to combine the incubators and the scientific parks of the two countries to set up some incubator alliance. We hope through which we could streamline the information project and the companies of the two countries can cooperate better. So we also have been setting up a training system comprising 4 levels of courses, including the International Technology Transfer Junior, International Technology Transfer Professional, International Chief Technology Officer, and International Management of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, through which we hope we can train more talented people to help China and the rest part of the world to cooperate to do the international technology transfer. And so we are also raising VC and PE funds, both domestically and internationally, to invest in the international cooperation programs. And then I'd like to share some suggestions for future cooperation. A is for projects and space cooperation. Based on previous experience, the demand for international cooperation between China and other parts of the world will be very huge. So more concrete cooperative project could and should be maintained and achieved, either as cooperation on research, the joint laboratories, and as joint venture capitals for high-tech companies, etc. Meanwhile, the scientific parks incubators should reach out from different countries to set up some kind of innovation space alliance. With this kind of mechanism, we hope the innovation line could, to some degree, connect together. And B, for the joint funding and training cooperation, actions such as joining the business angels, seed capitals, and venture capitals should be taken to make easier access to fund and for startups and the small and medium-sized enterprises with international cooperation demand. And a set of joint training system, also some joint academies with regard to technology transfer should be established to foster more talented who can better understand different countries' innovation status and the IP protection system, etc. And C, for online and offline cooperation, I strongly believe that the society and the technology has developing to the period that we should set up some online cooperation forum for innovation cooperation with at least the function of innovation, data mining and sequencing, and AI, automatic matchmaking, technology trends prediction, automatic translation for technology terms, and technology bidding and auction. This should be worked out to streamline the process of technology transfer and innovation cooperation. Furthermore, some offline network which could help to exchange the cooperation, just as ITEN has done in the past several years, regularly is also very important for improving the cooperation between China and other countries. So that's all I want to share with you today. And again, thanks for the organizer for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Grazie al signor Ding per il panorama che ci ha fornito, sia pure in un tempo.
Many thanks, Mr. Ding. For the limited time
Il governo cinese per
of the Chinese government at international collaboration level. And now the floor goes to Gregorio De Felice, who will illustrate a number of themes that surround the many times recalled road of the Silk Road.
Thank you, President Tazzi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There are two papers, one in Russian, one in English, in our folder. One devoted to the initiative One Belt, One Road, on Eurasia, and the other has to do with trade relations between Italy and Eurasia. Let me start making one consideration. The 5 countries of Eurasia as a whole account for 4% of the world GDP, just 4%. But if we look at the percentage on international trade, well, they account for 2%. If we look at the investments, well, they account for 2.2%. So the economic weight of this area would deserve much greater international trade with direct foreign investment that should be much higher than the one that we see, considering that they include 180 million inhabitants. There are many competition indexes, but in this case, we considered the Logistics Performance Index, which looks obviously at international trade. You see that Russia ranks 99, whereas China ranks much higher. And this tells us about the reasons for this low rate of change. We know that the economic importance of this area is higher than the percentage of international trade. So there are infrastructures on which we should invest. And the public sector should contribute much more. As a matter of fact, there are as much as 60% of the public investments when it comes to infrastructures. Now we have budget constraints, so we should look at the involvement of private capital, private investors. So we have to attract private investors so as to strengthen the infrastructures in this area. Foreign direct investment in Eurasia account for over $500 billion, with Italy accounting for $8 billion, 1.4%. But there are over 700 companies that are present in the Eurozone. So there is a great need for investment. And then there's a recent innovation to be considered, i.e. the One Belt, One Road initiative that started off in China. But over time, China proved to be much more inclusive. At the beginning, this initiative seemed to be just 100% Chinese, but China, along the way, understood that they couldn't do everything by themselves, but they should involve other countries. And what is the underlying rationale for One Belt, One Road? Well, that is promoting growth, promoting development, and regional cooperation. In a world that has very much focused westward, well, now China is promoting an initiative which is eastward bound. Well, the project is very complex. For further information, you should look up at the report in the folder. But let me just say that there are 6 main projects, 6 corridors involving both sea and land that improve competition and connections between China, Russia, and Europe. So this initiative is a point of reference to lead and promote development with reference to infrastructures. There are 2 corridors that at this point in time are most important when it comes to our relationship with Eurasia, and those are the new Eurasian land bridge and the China-Mongolia-Russia corridor. Other projects are more focused on Asia proper. Let's go to figures. Over $5 trillion are involved. Politically speaking, this could be a preamble of free trade agreements between China and Russia. As a matter of fact, a free trade area could be established between the Eurasian Union and China. Not in the end, indeed, Russia became the 3rd shareholder in the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, contributing 6% of the funds, so ranking 3rd after China and India among the investors. Now, unfortunately, there's no time to dwell on the individual projects, but let me just point to one important thing, i.e. the most important project that involves a high-speed railroad between Moscow and Kazan, which falls again into the general heading of the connection being established between Beijing and Moscow to later reach Rotterdam and the major ports in Europe. As to the financing of such projects, well, they'll come from multilateral institutions. We already referred to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Then we should also refer to a number of funds that are already committed to a certain extent. And then there are Chinese banks that have already been involved. So there's a body of initiatives that are extremely interesting underway. What is the role of Italy? This is the second part of my presentation. And I'll be very rapid on that. Well, Italian building companies changed completely. Just look at this chart. International turnover over the past decade grew 4 times, shifting from 3 to 12 billions. So there are building companies, large-size engineering companies that are ever more targeted towards international markets. Here you see the share as divided for different brackets, for different size of companies. You see that the percentage of work being carried out abroad is over 60%, especially so for the larger size companies. So you see here that there are companies that can adjust to different situations, that can boast high professional skills, with most skilled staff that gets appreciated worldwide. So the total amount of contract for the Italian building companies account for 87 billion euro. This is last year figure, of course. This year we are going to have a further increase. So it might be very risky to block contracts that are already underway, and especially these are the areas involved: railways, roads and bridges, hydraulic works, subways. And this is true the world over. Now, with specific reference to Russia, there are 3.8 billion of euro of ongoing contracts in Russia, which accounts for 1.4 billion of the new contract in 2015. Russia is one of the countries with the most important features for the Italian building companies. Why is that? Well, because Russia is rich in raw materials, less so in terms of infrastructures. So there's a very strong potential demand for further infrastructures. Well, I believe that we can find ourselves in a win-win process. And yet, I understand that political difficulties are there, that they're certainly not negligible. But the business community could contribute to do something important for the well-being of citizens, creating prosperity, trying to overcome the existing political difficulties. Such political difficulties are not to go to the detriment of the business community, are not to have a negative impact on the business community, and trade relations cannot be sacrificed in the sake of to solve problems that are only political in nature. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you very much to Gregorio. Thank you to Mr. De Felice for your overview. Anyway, as you said at the beginning, in the folder there are all the details of the analysis that you have presented. And I believe that Mr. De Felice's presentation was a very good introduction also to the presentation that is going to be presented by Mr. Mazzola. Over to you, Mr. Mazzola.
Thank you, Professor Tantazzi. That's actually true. I was listening carefully, and I think that this is introducing many of the topics, not all of them, but many of the topics I will want to deal with and touch upon. Many thanks to the organizers, to the Ferrovie dello Stato Italiane. I have been invited by now 3, maybe 4 times to this kind of forum, and I would like to make a very quick snapshot of what has happened to the Ferrovie dello Stato in the last year, and especially what we have in mind of doing. Yesterday and the day before, we talked about the management. Exactly, we discussed what we intend to do in the forthcoming years. Now, what are we? We are a railway organization, just like last year. And ever since last year, two tiny things have changed. We sold our commercial business as far as railway stations. So the railway station branch, new as Grandi Stazioni, has been sold to foreign investors. Not the property, but rather the management, only the management. The ownership of property stays in our hands, but the marketing and commercial management has been sold, especially for those who travel high speed. New shops, new railway stations have been organized, and that was a big change. And we are discussing right now with the Russian railway system for the past 7-8 years. We are trying to introduce similar concepts as well. Now, this is the current trend of FS Italiane Group. We've seen a blue line, which shows a progression, and we've also seen the increase in costs because of legislative changes in terms of energy requirements. We are the first customer or client of Energia Elettrica, energy consumption, which went up, so our cost as well went up. And as you see, we have a significant difference in between the blue and the red curve. And our EBITDA probably is one of the highest in Europe nowadays. There is a tiny comparison with respect to the largest railway system, the CNF. We confront ourselves with more than 40 billion of the Deutsche Bahn and 30 billions represented by the French railways. Our growth rate in the past years was significant, 5% every year. And the most significant case is our EBITDA, meaning how much we earn, what our profits are, and how many points, EBITDA points, we have as far as amortization points we have. And this is accounting for some 23%. Look at that margin, EBITDA margin. We have very few companies worldwide that reach that level of margin. Our business has been strongly capitalized. Heavy investments will have to be recovered since they have been made. And the other different elements that characterizes us is that we still have a very low foreign invoicing or turnover abroad. Now, Italian railways do work abroad, operate abroad. That's true. It's really so. We have 5,000 people in Germany. That's our second railway operator in that country. We've been trying to access other railway markets by providing services. And then we are active and operate with engineering services in the rest of the world. The high speed, the Italian high speed is the cherry on the cake, on the Italian cake, and I believe that this has been held to be the highest and best, the highest level and best level high-speed service worldwide. We have the 1000 Frecciarossa, which will be soon on the market and be traveling at 350 kilometers per hour. At 350 kilometers per hour, we stand the comparison with China. China grew recently in the railway sector, and if they travel 350 kilometers an hour, we can do the same as well. Italy is investing heavily in our own railway corridors. This is the map. And especially look at what is going on from the Brennero downwards. That corridor will require some 30 billion investments, 30 billion euros from the Brennero down to Bari in the south of Italy. We are investing in the hub of Florence, and there are some investments, important investments from Naples downwards to Reggio Calabria and elsewhere, Messina, Catania, Palermo as well. And as far as other corridors in Italy, there are important investments. This is obviously an interconnected railway network. It's not just existing here, but we are connected with other adjoining and neighboring networks. High-speed trains. Earlier on, we talked about the Moscow-Kazan high-speed rail line. I believe that we've been discussing about that for the past years with the Russian railways. The World Railway Union is also the president of Russian Railways, and the worldwide CEO is the managing director of Italian Railways. So we have a good relationship. We've entertained good relations for the past 4 years. We expect our CEO to be elected also the president of the railway, the worldwide railway system. And also, we have good relations with the Asian counterparts. We have intensive collaboration activities. We discussed a lot about the Moscow-Kazan high-speed rail line. There was also a contract with Chinese railways that are designing and planning the railway line. We are discussing of extending this collaboration, and large projects require political understanding and memorandums of understanding, because otherwise political crises will be damaged and suffering. And in the very moment when we had problems, China, who had the best relationship with Russia, who took the lead. The relations between Italy and Russia are now picking up again. They are at high level. I was attending the Expo when President Puni visited the Expo event. And on that occasion, we talked about the Moscow-Kazan rail line. At the Economic Forum of St. Petersburg, we had new contacts. The new contacts are being established, and the old ones are picking up once again between us and our Russian counterpart. They are very good. They should allow us to implement new operations that could help in an overall manner not only Italian companies and businesses, but also providing a guarantee system, a warranty system. We talk about a project which is exceeding 10 billion euros in terms of value, and which entails a number of implementation years in order to sort of make up for the costs and recover the costs. Now, another perspective, whenever we talk of the Silk Road, we talk about the traffic of goods and circulation of goods from China to Europe and from Europe to China. The Silk Road is actually represented by so many lines, many routes. We are working in order to see 2 big contracts accounting for some 2.5 billions and 5 billions altogether. And there are lots of competitive and competitor corridors and routes. We will have to make advantage, and we will have to have them all, because if we want to have some fruitful activities between China and Europe, which may entail new perspectives, but not only the traffic of goods. The map that you see is the map of the cities. And amongst the cities, we know that there is a movement of people. And there is a possibility of having a Silk Road that allows for the movement of people. That is a high-speed line which is transporting people. The Italian high-speed line is also allowing for the transportation of people. And in between the 2 continents, there is a possibility of connecting other cities, one with another, and for allowing new connectivity. In Brussels this week, there was another summit held between China and Europe, and one of the topics in the agenda was the one of having a one belt, one road. So the participation of China was fundamental. We welcome it. There seems to be an opportunity for reciprocity, so we welcome European businesses in China and in the Eurasian continent. I believe that it's important to have a two-way exchange network. My time, unfortunately, is over. And as I said, we have so many new growth opportunities. The railway system is the first investment represented for our investments worldwide, the first sector. And in the forthcoming years, as far as the Italian railways, we envisage new important things. We envisage new investments going from 1 to 4 billions. That's a very important investment, which will increase our turnover. As far as infrastructures, we expect in the next 10 years to invest 94 billion euros. And essentially, Italian infrastructures accounting for 50 billions, 20 billions will be taken from our budget, so they will be self-financed. And part of the investments will deal with foreign countries. We want to grow abroad. Our percentage is equal to 13% out of a turnover of 13 billions, and we envisage a to double that amount, reaching 25%. We need a growth by 4 times. And I think we want to become shareholders also in other contexts. The relationship with Russia is of very great importance. We invested a lot. We invested also in time-consuming activities. And let's hope that we will soon see the results of such kind of activity and progress. Thank you.
Per gli spunti che ha dato di riflessione.
Thank you, Dr. Mazzola, for the many contributions and thoughts you shared with us, for the many inputs you gave and insights you gave to the Russian and Italian entrepreneurs that are here today with us. And now, the floor to Frank Schauf. He will illustrate the themes and relations existing between Italian and Russian businesses in the sector of innovation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation here to Verona. It's very interesting for me as a German to see that there is such a big and substantial conference ongoing in Italy, because certainly we tend to have the national perspective, and I understand certainly as somebody coming from Germany that Germany is very active with regards to Russia, but now I also have the evidence that the Italians do a lot of things with regards to the Russian-EU relations. Perhaps I say 2 or 3 words about our organization. We are the main representation of foreign investors in Russia. We have a number also of Italian companies as members, such as Banca Intesa, for example, as Eni, Enel, Pirelli, Prysmian, and lots of others. And certainly Italian companies are highly welcome to participate in the work of our organization. We are the main representation of foreign investors on the background, certainly, that Russia, in spite of all the problems, still has nearly 50% of its foreign trade with the European Union, and that, let's say, the large bulk of foreign direct investments into Russia come from European sources. And I will now, let's say, in my short intervention, come to back to the starting point about, let's say, innovation infrastructure, not so much talking about infrastructure projects, but about infrastructure which enhances innovation with regards to Russia, but perhaps also at the end in the Eurasian Economic Union as a whole. We have to say that certainly with regards to the activities of European companies in Russia, they're partially or to a high degree, if we talk about pharmaceuticals, if we talk about the automotive sector, if we talk about machine building as example, companies which have a high degree of R&D activities globally. And I also have to say that since the end of the last decade, let's say step by step, in spite of all the problems which are there, certainly the European companies have increased their work with regards to research and development also in Russia. But I think that lots of things have to be done also in the future with regards to this. I mean, there are, let's say, projects ongoing, for example, in the area of engineering, energy, computer and software development, biomedical technologies, and certainly also the development of other high-tech products and also services. We are very actively cooperating, and our members are very actively cooperating, especially with the Skolkovo Innovation Center, which has been started at the end of last decade from the side of the Russian government in order to have, let's say, a very visible project where R&D activities are concentrated from Russian but also from foreign companies, and such companies like, for example, General Electric, like Nokia Networks, SAP, like Schneider Electric, Siemens, Alstom, in order to mention some of them, have started activities of research and development, especially based in the Skolkovo Innovation Project. And I assume that also in the future this is going to continue and will also increase in the next few years. Certainly you have such new initiatives which have been started by the Russian government with regards to discussing innovations, like the Open Innovations Forum, like the Forum Innoprom, which are done on an annual basis, where you have the trial from the side of the Russian authorities to bring together companies, but also researchers, to bring together also research institutes and other people active in the field of innovation in order to form an atmosphere, form an environment for bringing forward the innovation drive in Russia, which is, as I said, the aim of the Russian government for several years already. And if we talk, for example, about concrete projects, I can name one which has been done in the past few years, because the French company Alstom has created with their Russian partners in the past few years a new train. This was, let's say, something which has been done with the perspective of the Olympic Games of 2014, and this has been, let's say, a good project where innovation has been created in the cooperation between Russian and a European company, and which has then also, let's say, come into being practically. We also cooperate, for example, with such initiatives as the Technopolis in Moscow, where you have, since several years now, already an ongoing process of localizing innovative production, and also, let's say, with an attempt to do research and development. This is an ongoing process, and this is also done, for example, with European technology centers, for example, like the French example here again, Sophia Antipolis in the south of France, which is very active in trying to establish cooperation between European companies, European research institutes, and their Russian counterparts. And this, from my point of view, is an important point also, because you can see that here things are ongoing in spite of all the discussion around sanctions, and in spite of all the political problems which are there, and which certainly we also want to see solved and the sanctions being ended. But I want also to mention here that in spite of all these problems, the programs which have been started by the European Union already several years ago, before the political situation became more tense, in the field of research and development have been continued. For example, a EU Commissioner, Mrs. Jigan Rorin-Quinn, was in Moscow in 2013. Then this was the start of the common Russian-European Year of Science, which was done in 2014 in spite of all the political tension which was there. And also money has been invested from the European side on a rather large scale of several dozens of million euros in cooperation between Russian and European research institutes in order to move on with regards to research and development. And here I can name the two projects which are very important here. First is Horizon 2020, which obviously is going till the year 2020, and here Russia is one of the partner countries of the European Union, and it continues to be a partner. And the seventh framework program for research and development cooperation, where also Russia is an important project partner for the European Union. Generally speaking, I think that lots has been done with regards to moving forward on the field of cooperation between companies and research institutes in Russia. We, for example, have one of the member companies who are dealing, let's say, with one of the southern Russian universities with regards to developing new technologies, biotechnologies in the end, in the field of agriculture. And but lots of things still can be done. And here certainly, from our point of view, also it plays a role not only, let's say, the hardware in infrastructure, but also, let's say, the software. And in spite of things having been improved in Russia with regards to the IPR question in the past few years, we saw a reform of the patent system, we saw a reform of the civil code, especially with regards to IP questions. Certainly things can still be improved. If we talk, for example, about the whole discussion of testing new pharmaceuticals in Russia and the data which is related to it, this is one of the major problems, for example, which our companies, more companies in the pharmaceutical sector encounter till today. things can be improved. Also, let's say a question which is of major importance for us is the question of grey imports, of the question of counterfactual goods, which is still a problem in Russia in some parts of the economy, although certain things have been done in the past few years to the more positive side. When I make, let's say, some final remarks on the Eurasian Economic Union, because we are here on an Eurasian forum, the Eurasian Economic Union certainly is a new structure, as you most probably all know, and it only covers certain areas of cooperation. And we have analyzed, especially for this forum, again, the contract, the treaty between the participants of the Eurasian Economic Union with regards to scientific cooperation. And if I may say that, I think that here still a lot of things can be done, because there is some mentioning of research and development cooperation between the member states of the Eurasian Economic Union. But from our point of view, this is not enough, and here the legal basis has to be broadened in order to advance in the area of research and development and the Eurasian Economic Union. And certainly the Eurasian Economic Union, and here Russia is obviously the leading partner, has to let's say, advance in the next future. And certainly also if we talk about the general infrastructure with regards to the cooperation between companies, between universities, research institutes, be it independent or of the Academy of Science in Russia, or also the other companies, if you look into the number of patents which are registered in the Eurasian Economic Union in Russia, certainly a lot of things need to be done and can be done. But I also have to say, let's say, ending on a positive note, that certainly since the discussion on innovation has been started in the Russian Federation at the end of the last decade, a lot of things have been established, and I think there's also lots of opportunities which can be taken from the side of the Russian, but also from the side of the European partners. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schauf, for your overview. Thank you for your overview also with reference to legal issues. You talked about the cooperation concerning with reference to research and development.
Ma invece questi aspetti istituzionali e legali.
These institutional and legal issues are all important because this is necessary, obviously, to promote innovation, to promote research, to promote the technical achievement and the manufacturing of products. Now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Khodorkovsky. Reference was made to the railroads. Well, we have to refer that among the infrastructures we also have to consider airports, and Mr. Khodorkovsky is going to refer specifically to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am here and I am a partner of this forum for many years. I represent one of the biggest private groups in Russia. We are involved in the asset management field, operations, in the credit markets. Our portfolio contains different projects, diverse projects, I should say. And we can analyze a number of sectors on this basis. I would like to say that the avionics sector in Russia this year is not only a Russian sector. I'd like to say that we should get started from an infrastructure which is very far from aviation. I like reading the diaries of a number of travelers of the past century, and even before that. There are lots of interesting things. I believe that someone who's well known the name of whom is Carlo Brulov, was sent in 1822 in Italy, almost 2 centuries ago. His travel and his journey lasted 9 months. He stopped and touched some 10 cities: Riga, Königsberg, Berlin, Dresden, Venice, Padua, Bologna, and quite obviously, it goes without saying, Verona. Only a couple of centuries have gone through and have passed, and let's see how the infrastructures have changed. In order to do this kind of journey today, Carlo Brullo would have needed only 12 days, meaning considering all of the places where he stopped. Now, I will constantly make some parallel comparisons because this sector is very similar. In Russia, there are some 256 airports right now. The ones that transport more than 10,000 passengers on a yearly basis, and they represent 156 airports. The ones that transport more than 100,000 passengers on a yearly basis is 75 of them, and the ones that allow for more than 1 million passengers is only 25. There are only 24 of them. And considering that Italy is accounting for 1.8 as opposed to Russia, and the population, our population is almost half of the Russian one. And as far as foreign tourists, we see that there is a remarkable difference. We've looked at these two countries from the point of view of infrastructures and transportations. And here you see the traffic of European airports and Russian ones. There is incredible differences, notwithstanding the amounts of money. In Italy, 157 million passengers on a yearly basis, and in Russia, 159.3 on a yearly basis. And we see differences. Look at the structure of transportation. In Italy, intra-traps is 1/3 and 2/3 are internationals. In Russia, it's exactly the contrary. We then also have another substantial difference that needs to be considered. And the quota of countries inside the European Union and within the Eurasian countries cannot be compared. We've seen the highly interesting situation from the concentration point of view within this sector. In Russia, it is said that there is a high concentration in the first 10 infrastructures, airport infrastructures. Some 70% seem to be representing the first 10 airports. So we've then looked at what happens in Italy, and we've seen a little bit more, i.e. 75%. Same order of magnitude, more or less. It is fashionable here to say that everything is happening in Moscow and in St. Petersburg. And after drafting this table, I wanted to look at what is Rome, Milan, and what is Moscow, St. Petersburg. With the exception of Bergamo, it's more or less is the same. We have some 90 million passengers on a yearly basis. But the substantial difference is that the Italian infrastructure, the Italian one, the airport one that were mentioned before, if we look at the size of this infrastructure, it's hard to imagine. For example, just imagine the top 10 airport in Italy. There is no equivalent. It's just like the city of Ufa. Leisure resort, such as the Simferopoli in Russia, can be probably compared to Palermo. Sochi could be compared to Bari. Maybe this is what can allow us to understand what are the proportions. Right now, domestic flights in Russia, let's look at them. And in most airports, inbound flights account for a high level. And even in the Sheremetyevo airport in Moscow, which is obviously serving international flights, well, the domestic flight number is quite high. Is that a problem? Infrastructures. Can the infrastructure manage all this? Let's take a look at how the airports are structured and organized. In blue, we have the so-called common areas. In Italian airports, we go through the check-in, then the security control, then we have customs, and then only afterwards we have the frontier and border area. In Russia, there is only one common area, which is where you check in and register the luggage. The rest stays separate, and you don't have rapid movements of any such volumes. In Russia, the inbound flights do not envisage any common areas. So this is what we wanted to show. This is why whatever infrastructure we may consider stops being universal. Hence, in a short delay, we should be receiving 1 to 2 million passengers during the championships, the soccer championships. And let me say that I'm hoping that Italy is going to win. It's my cherished team. We are serving not only 12 states, but also 11 cities, 11 airports, different airports, one from another, I would say. Here, I'd like to go back to some data. The smallest one is in Saransk, the 105th one, where we have a high level of traffic. I don't think that we could ever land Saransk starting from Rome, because this is an international sector in the Saransk airport which would not have a future after the championships. The same will apply to Volgograd and to Kaliningrad. Now, all of them are examples that show in a clear-cut way how something which seems to be simple at first sight so we have to take a look at other people's and other states and other infrastructures experiences. And in Italy, the airport network seems to be a good benchmark, a good index. I hope I could stay within my time limit. Thank you. Now, obviously, we've made a quick snapshot showing the possibilities of the infrastructures and airport infrastructures in Russia. Now, we have very little time left. We have a formal passage dealing with the future life of Conoscere Eurasia Association. And Professor Fallico is going to step onto the podium. I would like to invite him to come here. He will be defining the collaboration pattern with the association chaired by Chen Ning.
I would like to thank most particularly the CEO Chen Ning for his willingness to cooperate with us. His organization was set up to promote technology transfer to China, It is the first time such an agreement is signed, the cooperation between Italy and China and Europe, but also China and Russia and Italy. And this is why I'm very grateful for this, and I hope that this agreement brings about and promotes further development in the relationships between Italy, China, and Russia. Thank you. Thank you. Time is up for our session, so I would like to thank you all for your attention. I'd like to thank all the speakers for taking the floor, and I'd like to declare the session devoted to infrastructures closed. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.